call to order Monday, October 27, 2025, Airport Advisory Board regular scheduled meeting. If you folks wouldn't mind silencing your phones, we'll appreciate that. Teresa, would you do the roll call, please?
Of course. Chair Dempsey?
Here.
Vice Chair Starley?
Here.
Member Caudell?
Here.
Member Lester?
Here.
Member Mabe? Absent for the record.
Okay. All right. And item number 2 on the agenda is presentations, and I don't think we have a presentation today. Right. All right. All right. That brings us to public input. We have opportunity for residents to speak to the board. For those of you wanting to do that, this is a monologue, not a dialogue. We won't answer questions or chat back with you, but you're welcome to take your 3 minutes and speak to us about whatever you have on your mind. Do we have anyone that would like to come forward and address the board? Apparently not. Okay. All right. Consent agenda. We have 2 sets of board meetings minutes that we need to review. I have reviewed both of them and gone over with Teresa and Arvin and Jacob, and we made a few minor corrections to them. And does anybody else have any input or comment on the minutes from the April 28th meeting or the July 28th meeting?
No, sir.
Okay. Then we need a motion to accept those.
Yeah, Caudell make a motion to accept those minutes.
Second.
Okay. All right. Arvin, are you going to do the airport noise update, or is that Jacob?
I need to do yay or nay for the minutes.
Oh,
Sorry.
it's been a while.
No worries.
All right.
Chair Dempsey?
Yay.
Yay. Vice Chair Starley?
Yes.
Member Caudell?
Yes.
Member Lester?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for keeping me straight. Okay. All right. Moving on to item number 5, airport noise. Arvin, are you going to do the update there for us? There we go.
Yes, thank you, Chair Dempsey. So thank you to everybody who's here today. Go over our airport noise and provide an update as to activity the last few months. So the airport met with Epic Flight Academy on, let's see here, have the dates. Oh, where'd they go? So since our last meeting, we met with Epic Flight Academy on August 6th, September 9th, and October 15th. We met with them during those occasions. We meet monthly and go over the previous month's activities. And here's a brief update for you in terms of statistics. So here are touch and goes. And just to kind of recap the reason why we meet with Epic, Epic's agreed to be compliant with our voluntary noise abatement. Although it's voluntary, they've agreed to make it mandatory for their students. So we review, and they hold themselves accountable, and we review that activity together every month. And they account for 85% probably of the activity at the airport. So meeting with them and having that relationship has been great, and appreciate that and appreciate their efforts. Touch and goes outside of our voluntary noise abatement hours. This is how many we had on a monthly basis, and you can see there's some times when it ebbs and flows, but considering the fact that we're doing 180,000 operations a year, and we have a few violations here and there that are then addressed with Epic, and they have an influx of new students and new instructors always, so we're going to see a little bit of this from time to time. Also, there are occasions when they need to do touch and goes because of a check ride, et cetera, so having a certain amount of touch and goes outside of the VNAP is unfortunately going to happen from time to time. You can see in July, we had June and July, we had an uptick, dropped down to almost 2, and then we had 14 this last year, last month in September. So we will meet in November. Usually we meet in the first or second week of November, or each month. So we'll be meeting again with them. That's why you don't see numbers for October yet.
Okay.
Going on to the next, this is Inlet Shores, since it is actually listed in our voluntary noise abatement. It is one of the neighborhoods that receives the fewest numbers of flyovers. However, since it is in a position to be potentially avoided some of the time, it is a part of our voluntary noise abatement. And it has, this is the track year over year. We do track that using Vertower software, which is software that allows us to create geofences around certain areas, and we can tell how many times aircraft overflew the area. It is less than 1% of the total operations, but you can see here that we have had some increases here and there, and in my later presentation, I'll show you the runways that are in use, and so that correlates a lot of runway closures this past year during our Taxiway Bravo construction project, and you can see there's some of these activities are unavoidable. Going over to how many, we can go over by who's doing the flyovers. Obviously, it makes sense that Epic would be doing the majority of them, even though they have a high compliance rate. They are nevertheless 85% of the traffic. So when you factor that in, you're going to see definitely that they're higher than normal. Second is usually Embry-Riddle. Embry-Riddle is about 14% of the flyovers, and then Air America had an uptick this month, and I'm working with them. They have some new leadership, working with them, trying to make sure that they're aware of our noise abatement. Phoenix overall does a fairly good job, and they have a fairly low rate. So the two people to keep an eye on, Epic has been doing a good job. Embry-Riddle, I have to continually go back to them and talk to them because of the size of their organization and how many flight instructors they have and how many students. It remains a challenge. And so that's part of our, any questions on the activity of the noise abatement efforts over the last few months?
Well, as a resident of Inlet Shores, and this month, October, is 9 years there for me. It's obvious that that Epic is doing a much better job than when we first moved into that community, and so my sincere appreciation to the Epic team for everything they're doing. And the fact that they've made our voluntary noise abatement procedures mandatory for their students and staff is just over the top. We appreciate that.
All right, well, if there's no other questions, we'll move on. That's all I have then for noise abatement.
Okay. That brings us up to item 6, safety events. We added this, I think last meeting was the first time we had safety events, but the board had made a request excuse me?
Oh, this is Scott. He's going to give a presentation. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
He's getting ready for
I thought
you.
this is my time.
Okay, it is. So the board made a request to the airport admin team to add safety as a standard agenda item and report quarterly on any aspect, anything related to safety, and I think it was a good thing.
Yes, and this month we invited Scott to come and talk about some of the surface incidents and some of the safety incidents and how safety is going from an air traffic controller's perspective. So
Perfect.
Scott was kind enough to put something together, and we appreciate you being here, and he's going to take it away.
Okay.
Yeah, just because, this format's new, what you're going to hear is from year to date, what we've experienced at the facility. You want a quarterly update. Next quarter, you'll have a quarterly update.
Okay.
But this is everything up to this year. Thank you for bringing me in here. I met some of you from that previous meeting with the RVA vice president over the staffing issues that we have.
Scott, just for the record, would you give us your first and last name and your position at the tower so we can get it into the minutes?
My name is Scott Fansler. I am the air traffic manager at New Smyrna Beach. I come to this position with 25 years air traffic experience in FAA. Most of it in South Florida, Miami Approach, Miami Tower, Fort Lauderdale. I also did 10 years at the Denver Air Route Traffic Control Center, a spin in Milwaukee, and as a manager in St. Thomas. I've been with RVA now for 3 years, air traffic controller, all at New Smyrna Beach. So almost 30 years in total, and I've been the air traffic manager since the departure of the legendary Jim. back in January, Jim Zeiler. So it's been an eventful 9 months, I can tell you that, mostly due to the staffing changes that you all are aware of. The job that Jim had and that I was bidding on and selected for is not the job that I got due to these staffing changes. But there's been a lot going on. So anyway, I'm glad to be here to talk to you guys about safety issues and what's been going on.
Okay.
Surface events. Since this year, we have had one runway incursion. To my knowledge, it's the first one in 3 years since I've been there, but we had one this year. It was about 2 months ago. I didn't get the dates. If you don't know what a runway incursion is, it's a occurrence at an airport that involves an aircraft, vehicle, or person that is in a protected area of a surface as needed for landing and taking off, and when that presence, when they shouldn't be there. That's a runway incursion. The one that we had, there's different classifications. Just touch on real. There's pilot deviations, vehicle pedestrian deviations, operational incidents, which is air traffic, and others. Not sure what an other would be. Our runway incursion was written up. Well, it starts as a possible pilot deviation. I won't go into too many of the details. There was a aspect of air traffic control involved with this incursion. Moving on. This runway incursion that we had, this is a category. This was a category D, thankfully, little or no risk. The airplane stopped about an airplane length past the hold short bars. I'll show it where it happened. And the controller observed it and stopped the aircraft. Never got onto the runway, but was in a runway safety area. So in this chart here, it would be a little or no risk type of incursion. The incident occurred in one of our hotspots, coincidentally enough, on the airport. There's a diagram of that. If you don't know what a hotspot is, it's a location on an airport with a history or potential risk of collision, incursion, or heightened attention by pilots, drivers, and controllers, you change that, is necessary. It happened at one of our hotspots. In this picture, those two circles are the two hotspots on the airport. This aircraft came from off the screen to the north, and north is at the top, came southbound on that taxiway to that first hotspot there. He was instructed to hold short by the controller. It was a perfect clearance. And where my staff sort of dropped the ball, they did not ensure a read back. I don't know if you're pilots, but they're supposed to read back runway hold short instructions. The pilot did not read it back, and my controller did not catch it. He did cross the hold short line for runway 2. The controller saw it, immediately told him to stop, which he did, but like I said, he crossed over the hold short line, and we had to cancel a takeoff clearance for an aircraft that was departing on runway 2 at the time. The incident, like I said, when these occur, the standard thing is to tell the pilot of a possible pilot deviation, talk to them, which all that occurred, but when you pull the tapes, and in this case, a controller performance issue was identified, it leaves the facility. And this is only, like I said, 2 or 3 weeks ago. There has not been a determination. I'm pretty sure it will not be solely a pilot deviation. The clearance was perfect that the controller gave the pilot, but he didn't read it back. And when I asked him if he heard the controller tell him to hold short, the pilot said no, he didn't. So that's our one runway incursion. And like I said, I've been there for 3 years, and that's the only one that I've seen. So we've been lucky. We've been good, knock on wood. Hope it returns that way. We have had a few surface events otherwise. We had a runway excursion here recently, back in July. Little narrative what happened. It was that airplane right there. It's an actual picture of the aircraft. They were in the pattern conducting repetitive flight operations. New pilot, a person was selling the aircraft. In the pattern on runway 25, doing touch and goes. On landing roll, lost direction of control and did what in aviation vernacular is a ground loop. Ground looped off the runway, and that's how he ended up. No injuries, really not a much of an incident at all, but it happened. That was this year. We have had 3 accidents this year. 2 on the airport, 1 off the airport, all involving single engine airplanes and engine failure. Go figure. The one off the airport was a banner tower. Probably, I don't know if you remember. He went down in Ponce Inlet right here. But it was in our area of jurisdiction. We were talking to the aircraft. And just so you know, I'm responsible for making these accident packages. There's a whole process. I got to pull tapes. I got to get statements. I have to do transcripts. And once I assemble these packages, it leaves the facility, goes to the FAA and TSP, and I don't hear anything about it ever again, unless it gets into some litigation or something down the line, unless air traffic's involved, which thankfully we were not. So I don't really have a lot of information to share with you. I can answer any questions you have. But one off-airport accident with the banner tower, 2 on-airport accidents. Both involve flight training, different flight schools. Both engine failure on takeoff, one off of runway 20 and one off of runway 29. Both aircraft landed back down on the airport and went through the perimeter fence. Very similar accidents, ironically enough. One, no injuries. The other one, they did have minor injuries. All aspects, all those incidents, well, the 2 accidents on airport, the crash fire rescue response was outstanding, worked very well. Just so you know, I didn't make a slide up on this, but the fire rescue system that we have here is in the city of New Smyrna Beach. They are right there on the airport, but they don't serve the airport specifically, exclusively. They are on calls. You know, we call them on a dispatch radio from the tower when we have an event. And in these 2 cases, they were Johnny on the spot, and within less than 5 minutes. That's not always the case. Arvin and I, we've talked about it. We've talked with the fire department. We have to go through I mean, I've worked at many other airports and with dedicated crash phones. That's what I'm used to having. This is not that. It's a cumbersome system. It puts a lot of demand on the controller in the tower. Because we have to use Arvin could tell you more about the radio system than I could, I think. But it's an actual fire dispatch radio. We have to call the dispatcher. And they talk to us in dispatch lingo. And it's not air traffic lingo. And although as controllers, we're very good at using radios, this particular radio it's a little different. And it's not, the system could, I don't know if it would be nice to improve it. I'm not sure we can. We've talked about it, and it is what it is. But anyway, that's just a little bit of a sidebar on the response. The response is, like I said, to these aircraft accidents was outstanding. The system worked just like it's supposed to, and they were on the spot within minutes. I mean, it couldn't have been any better. There have been times, though, where the airplane's on the ground. Like I can tell you, within the last month, we had an incident where an aircraft pilot said he had smoke in the cockpit, smelled smoke. He was being worked by Daytona. He wanted to land at the nearest airport, which happened to be us. And granted, Daytona coordinated all this when the airplane was 4 miles southwest of the airport or so. And he just came right straight in and landed on runway 2, turned off the runway, figured out that they didn't have a fire, and, everything turned out well. But meanwhile, it went 10 minutes and nobody showed up from fire rescue. One of the battalion commanders showed up in a pickup truck after the airplane had been on the ground for probably 5 minutes, at least 5 minutes. So it's just, the system is cumbersome. It doesn't always work well. In the news, I don't know how else to bring this stuff up. I know air traffic control's been in the news a lot lately with this shutdown and delays and staffing and concerns about safety. I can tell you that RVA controllers, we are not part of that. It's not my wheelhouse, but we are paid from a separate fund. Our controllers are being paid, and we're all happy as clams. We're not dealing with what FAA controllers are with lack of funding and appropriations and working for free and all that associated stuff. I can touch a little bit on I'd be happy to answer any questions about our staffing. Our staffing situation has not changed, and I kind of backed off on pushing that. I kind of got the feeling that I was stepping on some of my higher-ups' toes a little bit, as the new guy.
Well, you were helpful in helping to set up the meeting that we had the last time in the presentation from RVA.
That needed to be said. I mean, that needed to be done. I didn't share, I think some of you expressed a little bit of frustration with some of his answers, if I could just be frank. It was a lot of corporate speak going on there that
Yeah.
day. But it's not, like I said, it's not my wheelhouse. But as far as our staffing goes, it's still what it was since I took the job. We have experienced here in the last 6 months a lot of turnover. Well, I say a lot. It was all expected, except for one. I just had a recent, she hasn't left yet, but that was unexpected. The other ones were expected. These people had made it known for a long time that they were going to punch out. And we were very fortunate in finding very well-qualified replacements. Very fortunate. One recently retired controller from Daytona. The other has a lot of experience. He transferred from Kissimmee Tower. Both had no problem certifying, and very lucky. It may not be the case in all cases. In fact, I almost ended up with a controller who her experience was limited to the Army and only working helicopters at a helibase somewhere in Alabama. That doesn't translate real well to what we do at New Smyrna. And
Fort Rucker.
it would present some real training challenges that luckily we haven't had to experience. So having said that, I don't have anything else to tell you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions
Okay.
that you may have for me on anything.
Tim, do you have a question?
I do, actually.
Of course he does.
The overall, if you had to describe the culture and the mood in the tower at New Smyrna Beach as of this moment in relationship to how all of the transitioned in people have done, as well as, the prior exiting people, as well as yourself, how would you describe that to this board?
Well, I think as far as I would say it's been a lot of frustration, but not due to what you're.
I'm not alluding to anything. I just want to know really.
It's been a tough 9 months, 10 months since February. This Taxiway Bravo project has been very challenging. For a lot of reasons. You're a pilot. I mean, you fly. I mean, we could go down the rabbit hole all day long and talk about all the challenges it brings to controllers and pilots, users alike. It's been very challenging and it's been long. We are all very, very ready to get it over with. They're actually working on it today. They're polishing it up this week. Hopefully by Wednesday it'll be done. But it's a great facility, and I mean that. I've worked at many in my 30 years, almost 30 years in this job. I've tried to foster an attitude that Jim left it. It was very challenging at first with the staffing issues. And just so you know, I mean, my boss got up here and was very evasive when it talked about staffing numbers using proprietary language and all this other stuff.
Well, don't worry about that.
Our staffing numbers.
We have a plan, and
Our staffing numbers have not changed,
Okay.
with one exception, and that's Sundays. Sundays, we run with less purely because of EPIC's cooperation with the voluntary noise abatement program. By EPIC complying with that, our Sunday traffic count is.
So if I asked you, if I said, "Look, do you feel that we have a safe airport based on ATC performance at our tower?"
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's not without its challenges, and we're humans. We
Yeah.
make mistakes, but absolutely, without a doubt.
okay, excellent. Anything else?
No, that was it.
How about you?
Well, yeah, I wanted to start by just saying that I very much admire and appreciate the work that you do, that your team does, and
Thank you.
as a user of the airport, I think you're doing an outstanding job. I think our focus as a board and as users is to ensure that you have what you need to keep the level of performance and safety right where it ought to be. So as we look at issues and ask questions, I hope you'll understand that that's.
I
that's
understand
purely,
100%, and I share in those goals as well.
Purely our perspective.
I salute you. I encourage that perspective. I applaud you, and yes, keep it coming. Like I said, back to your question, I think we love our job. You want to know what the culture is? The controllers love the work they do. They get frustrated over things that they don't have a lot of control over, runway construction projects, staffing. They come to me with these complaints. But overall, the culture is that we love what we do. We really do. Obviously, most of us are retired. Most of us have good pensions anyway, and we're not doing it for the money. We're doing it. We love the work.
Yeah.
So here's my question. You mentioned that you're anticipating that you'll have a training load that will be a challenge. Has that been recognized by your management in terms
actually
of what
has.
impact that has to your staffing?
It has, and the way it has is because, for example, this Army controller that I just touched on, it was recognized that because typically the training program is 30 days. That's all they give a controller to come in and they walk in the door. They expect them to certify within 30 days. If they don't, they'll give you an extension, but they want to know. They want to know, is there a problem? Why isn't this person certified in the facility? And 30 days is not a long time in air traffic, in the air traffic world. It's a very short period of time. But it works. Like, for example, the retired controller from Daytona, she retired in May. She started with me in the end of July. She certified in 3 weeks. The Kissimmee controller that we just picked up, he certified in 3 weeks.
Excellent.
The Army controller, and it was brought up not by me, but by my boss, and the RVA's training expectations and training programming is going to have to change, and they know that. They've acknowledged that. Now, how that's actually going to work in the field, nuts and bolts wise, I don't know, because I haven't had that problem. I haven't experienced it yet. But they acknowledge that they're going to have to amend their training program to accommodate the developmentals that they're going to be receiving.
But you haven't seen a staffing change to allow for that. Is that the case?
No. And I'm not sure there would be. Even though I haven't been pushing the staffing issue, I still do when the opportunity presents itself. I still rattle that cage and say, we're running this place with one person less than I frankly think we should be. But it's working, and we still run in the numbers that I believe are the numbers we need every day, with the exception of Sunday. We get away with it on Sundays because of the reasons I spoke about. But honestly, it's because it's the admin duties that I would normally, or Jim would normally perform. Those get put a little bit on the back burner. When I interviewed for this job, I said, I told them that I'm going to put the operation first. Didn't know that the staffing was going to be cut, and I would be operational. Just so you know, I work more position time in a day than Jim Zeiler probably did in a week, every day, with the exception of Tuesdays. Tuesdays is my admin day, and that's how I'm making it work, and it works well. I'm a very busy
Well,
person.
in following up to the visit that we had from RVA, we came away from that with some of the same observations about the presentation that you just mentioned. But
The contract
we
world's a different
agreed
place.
that amongst ourselves that we're going to get out of this heavy construction phase that we're in, get ourselves back to a more standard operating routine of airport runway accessibility and availability and that type of thing. Look at those numbers, get some feedback from our pilot community and from Epic and everyone else, and then make a decision on how we go back to RVA. Yeah. Okay, so that's exactly what we're
I'll
going
just
to do.
make an editorial comment. I've worked at many airports. This is the only one in RVA. Many FAA airports.
Okay,
And
but I
New
do have
Smyrna
another
Beach-
question for you.
New Smyrna Beach does an outstanding job, and I mean that. I'm not just blowing smoke. You guys really do. Airport management they're always responsive and on the spot to whatever needs, equipment-wise, that they're responsible for. They do an excellent job. In fact, this controller that I just picked up from Kissimmee, he worked at Kissimmee Tower. RVA facility, I don't know, would that be Orange County? Whatever county runs that place, I don't know. But he made the comment completely, on his own, just out of the blue. He goes, man, they really keep this airport up nice. And I'm talking about everything from cutting the grass to the equipment that I need in the tower to make it work. You guys really do an outstanding job. And that helps, for Tim's question, it helps with the controllers, it helps us do our job.
Very good. We appreciate that.
What was your question, Jim?
My question is the discussion that you had about the crash phone.
About what? Oh, the crash phone.
The
Yeah.
crash phone.
It's not a phone. I wish it was a phone.
And that's kind of very much in line why one of the safety item added to our agenda every quarter is so that when somebody says something like that, in my experience, we typically have a direct line to the fire department, and
Yes.
in this case, we don't.
No.
Is that something for an airport of our size and your experience in ATC, the 30 years, are airports that are our size that do not have an on-airport property fire department, do they have a direct crash line to the local municipal fire
I
department?
can only speak to my experience. My first facility in the FAA was Tamiami Airport. I guess it's Miami Kendall Executive now,
Yeah.
Tamiami. Similar airport to New Smyrna, a little bit busier. We had a dedicated crash on the airport with a phone. I mean, you picked the phone up and it rang right in the building. And I worked at Miami.
That was a fire squad on the airport?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any experience with an airport comparable in size and operations to ours where there is a direct line from the tower to the fire
I
department?
cannot answer that question. I don't know.
Well, to piggyback on that, just on what you said, and I just want to go back to the incident that you mentioned with the plane landing on runway 2 that had the issue. And this is, I know I'm going off, I need you to try to recall, but if you don't, that's fine. But my question is, at what time during that event was a call made to the fire department? Or was a call made to the fire
I
department?
can tell you that it was, well, like I said, I want to say it was from the time we got the advisory from Daytona to the time that airplane landed, I pulled all the tapes, it was around 7 minutes. And it was at least 5 minutes after that before the equipment showed up.
When
So
did the
that's a
call,
long
when did the
time.
call go out though to?
Oh, at what time of day? As soon as I knew, as soon as we knew, I was on the radio.
So my
Yeah,
question, so
within
Jim,
less than a minute.
so my question would be, because we brought this, safety was important to us, enough to bring it up. So my question is there communication, Arvin, in between the tower, the airport, and EMS? I guess, is it EMS? Is that what it's considered? Or fire
Just to clarify, we have a radio in the tower that goes direct to dispatch. So no, they don't call 911, they don't call us first. They can call dispatch directly.
They-
It's
That's
just
what the
that-
radio's for. It
Yes.
calls.
That's what I was understanding. You said you called them on the radio.
Yes, they furnished, well, I don't know who buys the radio. It's furnished by the fire department and paid for by the city.
We buy
I
them.
guess. But yes, it goes right to the dispatchers.
It's going to the county.
Yeah.
So the county can dispatch whatever the closest assets are. So I think, and I didn't set this up, that was with Jim and I believe Adam, but I think their thought was, New Smyrna could be busy potentially. So to get whoever here fast enough, they call them and from there they dispatch. They could call 911, but
think-
it's faster.
I think we need to review that. If we're calling the county and we've got New Smyrna Fire Department on the airport,
Well, they get their dispatch from the county. You're not going to get directly to the city. That's not how it works, unfortunately. It's just you go through dispatch like you would. We're not going to call that direct fire department on the airfield and expect them to show up
They
because
still
that's
have to
not
get
how it's set up.
dispatched, yeah.
Right. They still have to be dispatched. It's just their contract. It's
So you're saying even for a city fire department, or is that county or is that city?
well, when you call 911, your dispatch.
Is who, the fire department that's at the airport, is that city paid or is that county paid?
It's city, so they
Hold on, I'm gonna break this. If it's city paid, to my point, to Jim's point, if it's city paid, why are we going through does county only dispatch every call through 911 only to the city fire department? Or is there anybody else that can reach the city directly?
We'd have to probably go back to, probably a reason why it was set up this way. I don't know what it is,
Well, we're
but
gonna
you can
do
get
that.
the fire chief.
We're
You
going to
can
go
get the
back
fire
and
chief.
review how that
Sure.
was set up.
Yeah, the fire chief,
And-
Chief Van de Mark is who set that up, so.
And given
I don't know.
given the level of the operational busyness that we've got, and plus the fact that the 85% of ours are students, all right? Let's go back and look at how that's set up and can we optimize that? Okay, we're gonna make that action.
I'd like to know, is there a direct way, since it's city, does anybody else call the city fire department direct? Or is it just, the only reason we're doing it is because at some point in time it was set up this way? If there's a way for us to call them direct to have a quicker response time for the safety of everybody, of every pilot, of every student, of every staff member, so I say twofold. I'd like to know, can we get more direct in that, to Jim's point? But then also, is there any type of safety meeting that is had in between the city fire department and the airport on a regular basis right now,
Oh, Jacob takes care of that.
Yes,
where that communication is updated, or
Do
where
we
if
have
there's
that
any
in this
concerns
briefing?
such as,
yes.
We've got some slides on that, Tim, that we'll cover. Jacob does an awesome job
Okay.
with that. But I think we're definitely going to go back and review what was set up and how the wickets work. And if we have a situation where we have an airplane on fire and people hurt, then we want an immediate response.
Well, you can,
Immediate.
and we could decide to pay for an on-site, fire rescue. That's something that the previous chief wanted to look into. So we can look into that as well.
I think we just need to look to
Very
see if we
expensive.
can make what we have. Is there a way to make communication better?
As I'm understanding of it, we have the most, how its system is set up, we have the most direct situation possible at this moment in time. Not that that can't change, but that's how it works. We're fortunate to have a fire department on the field. Being the size airport that we are, we get probably better response time than most of the airports that are a general aviation, non-ARF sponsored type airport.
We also, I think, need to have a conversation
We just
with,
had this gentleman tell us that
Yeah.
he contacted them when the airplane was 5 minutes
And-
out, and they still didn't show up till 5 minutes after. it
And
was
generally
here.
speaking, when we do call them, they're there within a
Okay,
few minutes.
let's just go back and look at how it's set up and the wickets that are in place, and can that be optimized,
Sure.
okay?
yeah, and the other thing is I think you need to have a conversation with Daytona, they shouldn't be sending us anybody, with a real emergency. We've got 10,000 feet of runway and an
I think
actual
you-
dedicated
I
ARF
think you- well,
trucks.
But I think you said he
In
was
that
south
particular
of the
case.
field.
Yes.
Right, they didn't have a
So,
choice.
Yeah.
We had there was an incident, it was Friday? Was it Friday evening? I got a call. at
Oh,
home.
the stuck throttle, right.
The stuck throttle.
Saturday.
We tried to get, the airplane was being worked by Daytona. And to your point, we tried when we have time to say, hey, we may not be able to get fire. If you need equipment, you may want to go to in this case, Daytona, because they have equipment on the airport. We may not be able to have equipment standing by. The pilot still chose to land at New Smyrna.
I mean, if it's a fire,
But
you're putting a plane
that's the
down.
thing. I mean, I don't want to have my controllers have to get into a exchange. And you really
Agreed.
need equipment, you might want to go somewhere else. That's not acceptable.
Well, I'm saying in the cases where Daytona's directing an aircraft inbound
And
to
I can
us.
tell, I mean, that works two ways too. I mean, Daytona doesn't want an airplane disabled on their runway either.
Right.
I mean, I'm just being real.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's,
I don't
again,
wanna-
a conversation we'll have to have with them. But
I'm sorry, we still have a lot of stuff to cover. We haven't done your update on the manager activities in a while, so I want to make sure we get into that.
Sure.
So we're gonna take the action for Arvin and the team to do a review, and perhaps you do that with the folks that are in the fire department there.
Oh, we will
let them
absolutely have to, yeah.
Let them participate in that. Have someone from the county participate, because what we want is the most seamless communication and reaction that we can possibly get, okay? And I'm only saying that because he
It's
just
the
reported a
communication
glitch.
that I think needs to be improved. As far as the reaction, I don't know, like Jacob said, I mean, most of the time they're Johnny on the spot, but if they're on the other side of town trying to get grandma's cat out of the tree because we share that service with the rest of the city of New Smyrna Beach. I have no idea what the solution to that is.
Okay.
But I would just like to see the communication somehow streamlined, and without getting into all the details of how it works, it's ponderous.
Any other questions for Scott?
Well, you know, we have, how many fire chief things do we have? How many actual trucks,
Stations.
engines? How many engines do we have?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, we have, okay,
It's a fairly sizable department. though.
yeah, I mean, you've got
Well, we
over
have
there,
44, we have Beachside, and we have the airport,
right,
and then we have Edgewater.
and there's at least two.
Okay. Well, we're going to go back and do a review of that. All right. So is that just an action that I can say, go do this, or do we have to make a motion? and-
You don't have to make a motion,
Okay,
no.
all right.
No.
So next meeting, you guys will give us an update of how that turned out.
We'll give an update, and we'll see about inviting the deputy chief, or the new interim chief. Maybe you can come and talk.
Okay, there you go.
That's a good
That's a
idea.
great
That's a good
idea.
idea.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Very well.
You have to speak up.
Oh, there is a truck that I think was donated. It is, it needs a lot of work. It's there. I don't know the status of it. We've never really touched it. That was a dream that Chief Vandemark had. So that's a whole other thing we can look into as far as
Well, you
funding.
can ask that question when
Yeah.
you meet with them to talk about this. Okay? All right. Okay, thank you, Scott. We appreciate
Thanks, Scott.
you putting this
Thanks.
together. It's very good. We'll look forward to that. Depending upon the level of activity, either once a quarter or once a year. We'll see. Okay?
I look forward to the quarter where I can say we had no safety events.
All right. Okay. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. New business? Okay. Item number 7.
Yes. We are proposing the dates for the 2026 calendar year. We have, first, we want to know if you want to keep it at 5 p.m. or move it to 6 p.m.
That was one question that I raised, is we moved it from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. to get, to see if, because one of the things I saw online on citizenry comments about that was, well, we don't have time to even get home from work at 5 p.m. hardly, with traffic and everything else. And the city is meeting at 6, but are they fixing to change that to the Tuesday nights? Is that going to go back to 5:30, or is it going to stay at 6 or 6:30, or what?
Well, right now it's at 6:30. My understanding is they voted to start it at 5:30.
5:30.
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe that starts in January, but I don't know that off the top
Okay.
of my head.
Well, why don't we push it to 5:30? Okay.
Just to be consistent
For,
with the city.
be consistent with the city, and to give a little bit more time for some citizen input, because we get very little.
Well, why don't we get that time confirmed? Why don't we get that time confirmed to verify that it actually is 5:30? And if it is, then we can make a motion to change our time to the 5, just to verify. I'm not saying we should change it, but let's verify that before we make a motion,
Yeah.
that it's 5:30. And if it is, then we'll make the, I agree to make the change too.
Yeah.
I want to do what the city's doing that way. It's equal for the public. I agree with
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. Okay, so that's another action, is to confirm the scheduled start time for the 2026 city meetings.
It is 5:30. I'm looking online.
Okay, it is 5:30. So we need a motion to move this for 2026 to 5:30 for the 4 quarterly meetings.
And also the dates.
Yeah.
So the
So-
dates,
We can do all at one shot.
Yeah.
You want to go over the dates?
yes, so dates proposed are Monday, January 26th, Monday, April 27th, Monday, July 27th, and Monday, October 26th, proposed for 5:30. I just need a motion.
Motion, Caudell.
Second.
Chair Dempsey,
Yes.
Vice Chair Starley,
Yes.
Member Caudell,
Yes.
Member Lester.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So, any old business? No. don't think so. Airport manager comments. I'm going to turn it over to Arvin and Jacob at this point.
All right, thank you, Jim, and thank you, Scott, for your presentation on safety. And Scott, I want to echo what everybody else has been saying. Scott's had his hands full, but he's really done a great job, and we appreciate the relationship and appreciate all he's doing for the airport very much. Just a reminder is on our mission that we are the gateway to our community, and that everything that we're doing, and I think it shows in the airport. And I know it's been tough with the Taxiway Bravo project, but in order to get us our approaches back, and in order to get extended life out of our airport, unfortunately, there's just no way around it. You have to do these projects. So I know it's been a pain, and I appreciate everybody's patience. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we're doing to further our mission. One of the things that we want to celebrate is we had an airport inspection on August 21st, 2025, and the FDOT gave us a clean bill of health, which is, for those who may not be aware, for approximately 10 years or longer, the airport has received basically an airport license from the FDOT that says that there are some deficiencies, and it's taken several years, a lot of money and a lot of projects to address some of these concerns. A little closer up view of it just simply states that it meets airport standards of safety. The previous licenses, going back as far as 2015, stated basically that it does not meet state standards, but this FDOT felt that in the interest of public safety, or public interest, that the issues or the deficiencies weren't actually a danger, and so they granted us the license anyway because they knew we were working towards rectifying it. The major issue that prevented us from meeting the standard was the fact that runway 725 was too close to the roads on either end, and that had been kind of, pushed off over the years, and we've spent the last, I think, basically almost the last 3 years. In fact, you may remember, some of those of you who were on the board, that we came and did a presentation several years ago and said, unfortunately, we need to cut off a little bit of pavement off either end of this runway. And nobody likes to hear that, especially when you have a runway that's already, short. But what we did have to do that in order to get our approaches back. As you know, we haven't had night approaches to 725 in, over 3 years. And so right now, we have met the standards for both the FAA and the state. And at this point, what we're waiting on is the official study to be completed and submitted to the FAA. Unfortunately, with the government shutdown, they're not studying these types of things right now. So we aren't going to see anything on that, and now there's going to be a backlog. So we're still looking at several months, at least, before we get those approaches back. However, we are wrapping up Taxiway Bravo, and I'll get into that later, but just want to share that with you and the group that we've reached this milestone.
I was stunned when several years ago now, and I made my first visit to the airport office, and I walked in the conference room and I looked at this license on the wall, and it says does not meet. And that immediately became my priority for my time on the board, was we're going to get that license fully compliant with all standards for safety. And by God, we did it. And this is awesome. This has been years and years and years in the making. So my congratulations to the admin team for the airport, Arvin and Jacob and Teresa now, for everything you guys have done to get everything done. And we had to go some crazy places with some of the studies that we had consultants do that freaked everybody out with some of the crazy ideas. But we had to go through all those wickets so that we could turn over every single rock to get to this point where we have an airport license that is absolutely unencumbered. So my sincere thanks and congratulations.
Thank you all for the support, because we brought these to you. That was a tough decision. I know we had some in the community that didn't want, obviously, or the runway. Nobody wants the runway to get shorter. And it's really not that much different in terms of it's about 150 feet total. But it was needed.
Well, we're going to get our approaches back, and now we've got a clean operating certificate, so we're there. I feel really good about that.
So just a quick note that we are starting a new fiscal year, October 1st. And so in the spirit of that, want to go over just the operations the last 12 months. Really, this touches on some of the questions that we've had about runway 220 and kind of the life expectancy, kind of where it's at in its life cycle and how critical it is to the operation. So I want to talk a little bit about first the operations the last 12 months. Not surprisingly, we're down a little bit operation-wise. About 7.5% from last year. I mean, obviously, we had significant impacts from the runway closures. And during Taxiway Bravo, it wasn't just 725 that was down, but also others. So here's a graph showing the runway use over the past 12 months. And this includes all operations, not just when the tower's open. So you can see the dips, for example, on runway 1129 in green, went to almost nothing during March and April. And so to not even have that runway for basically 2 months, and then we went 725, almost nothing in June, then back open in July, then closed again in August, some in August and September. So this speaks to, as a visual representation of kind of the pain that Scott and his team have been enduring these past few months, and also the pilots. And I know this has made an impact on our users. So, again, I've said it many times, but we can't express our appreciation as much for all the patience that everybody's had while we went through this process. But I did this to show us, to kind of help us make some decisions as we get to the point where we have to decide, okay, what's our next, what's our next target? And I think it's clear that not having funding for runway 220, it's just for those of you, let me back up a minute and explain. The airport has a primary and a cross-run runway. And the FAA doesn't typically fund what they call a secondary runway unless you have to show the justification for it. You have to have a lot of traffic, and you have to have we have to do a wind analysis. We have to do an hourly average count. There's a whole study. Basically, the runway feasibility study is not exact phraseology, but it's usually part of a master plan. So I talked with our consultant, and I said, how much would you typically charge an airport to do a study outside, this particular study outside of the master plan? Because if we did this study and we present it to the FAA and it's successful, they will come back and they actually will agree to fund the runway, which is the whole challenge. We're looking at about $12 million to fully rehabilitate runway 220. And we don't have that. If you could just look at our finances, we don't have that kind of money.
What was the number again?
About $12 to $13 million.
That's lighting, surface, everything.
That's completely rehabilitating it and restoring it. It's not obviously restoring it back to its full length or full width. It's got 200 feet of width out there. We'd have to go back and put it 75 feet like the other runways. So there's a couple questions I want to pose to you all. Okay. One is we could, in theory, fund, or we could look at doing the study, okay? But it's going to cost $100,000 of airport money. We can wait to do a master plan, which would be funded up, to like 98%, 99%. The master plan is more expensive, but there's a lot of other studies that are part of that master plan, and we are due for a master plan update. We had planned to do it later this year, but I got a call from the FAA Orlando office late last week, and they said, we have bad news. You already, your money, we got a couple other projects that we're doing, and they just don't have enough money to cover the master plan. We have to wait an additional year now. So a master plan typically takes 18 months to 2 years itself. It's that in-depth and that comprehensive. So we're looking at, potentially 4 years if we wait for the master plan to get an answer, at which point we'd have to wait another couple of years to get the funding together. So we're potentially looking at 6 to 8 years before we could rehabilitate this runway. Now, FDOT has a planned study that they do every 2 years. They do what's known as a pavement condition index report. And they come out, they spend a couple days at the airport, maybe a whole week. They walk all of the surfaces of the runway. They take samples. And this study, this is all the pavement.
P&C numbers and AMC?
PCI. This is
all come
PCI, yep.
Pavement index?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And so that's what's giving you the numbers for, from that report, we decide when do we need to rehabilitate stuff. So I'll just tell you right now, other than 220, we're now looking pretty good. I mean, I expect this next report to show we're in pretty good shape. But we always need to be looking down the road. 220, the last PCI index report showed that the deterioration rate has slowed dramatically. So it's only dropping off. It's in such poor condition that it's only deteriorating now, it's very slowly. So something to think about, and I'm not asking for necessarily any immediate consideration or any immediate action, but something I want to put out there is this is kind of the next big thing I think we all need to kind of be thinking about. We've certainly been thinking about how can we fund this, how could we pay for this? Because just, Scott can tell you I think it was last week or the week before, there's days when the winds, especially during the winter at this time of year, the winds are just blowing right down, right out of the north. And this graph that I'm showing, not this graph, but these numbers I'm showing you here, in 2024, 220 was used 11% of the time. Still a lot, but this past year, when we have a project going on and we need that runway, it's 34% used heavier than 1129, significant use. So I had a conversation with our Orlando district office, and I just said, listen, my concern is, and this is where their concern, not just with our airport, but the impact that closing one of our runways or not being able to fund or pay for one of our runways, the impact that would have on the region. Well, that kind of stuff, matters to them, right? It's not just about our airport, but if you have a runway, if we have basically don't have the use of one of our runways some days, and Epic can probably speak to this, when the wind's blowing that hard out of the north, you're almost shut down if you don't have that, because the crosswind is so high. So I guess where we're at with this is really trying to determine, is this money that we might want to, and again, if we pay this out of the airport money, it's a fair amount of money, right? If we pay it out of our fund and we don't get the answer we want, we're out that money. At the same time, it may help us determine, hey, then what are we going to do? So just kind of food for thought, okay? And we don't...
You know where I stand.
Yes, I do.
Like you 100% know where I stand.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't just stand on that as a pilot. Like, coming to these meetings, listening to our residents and our community, for me, runway 220 is a safety concern for all pilots, because at night, having to use 25 or 29, you're over a lot of water. You're also over a lot of residents coming in at night. Either one way. You're either coming over Venezia or you're coming over Inlet Shores, Hume's neighborhood. So runway 220, if that was a safely and well-done runway, you avoid a lot of houses and you avoid a lot of water.
Yep, and we'd have to, I believe, and I have to confirm this, but I believe if we can get it approved as a secondary runway, that we can look into actually getting it lit, which of course makes it even better, because right now, obviously, it's not lit.
So based on what you said there, Arvin, to me, I don't like the master plan idea, even though it's needed, because that's an 6 to 8 year deal. Like, that runway's in horrible condition. It's not moving, getting any worse, because it's horrible. I mean, and it's damaging planes to land on it and take off on it, because the pebbles are coming up off of there. So what is the best way for us to go about getting the funding to get that done, where we don't wait 6 to 8 years for that runway, and we help everybody in the community out?
Well, I think that's the study. That's the $120,000 study. Now, you said earlier that that's a lot of money, but you didn't say what impact it has to airport operations, other things that, if we understand what we're putting at risk or jeopardizing or impacting by using $120,000 airport funds for this study, I think we need to know that so that we can say, yeah, go do it, or no, we need to get there after these priorities.
Well, we do have a lot. We have other priorities. I mean, we have a lot of the revenues, the airport revenues come from revenue generating space. And that revenue generating space, there are some buildings that need some significant work. However, we do have money in our fund. So the airport has a fund balance, and I don't know, I'd have to ask finance exactly what it is, but we're required to have a certain amount of reserves. But I believe that we have a little bit of a surplus. So really, your recommendation to move forward, we could potentially go to the city commission and, with your recommendation to pull some of that money out of the fund to do this study, or we wait till the next fiscal year and we plan it in advance and be strategic about it and say, okay, we're going to do this study, effective October 1st, and we have that money set aside and we do that in advance. But
I think that would be a great idea, because I think you have city commissioners that would love to know that we're doing something to make the residents safer and quieter. And I think that would be a smart grab to ask for that.
Okay, so I think what we're looking at here is saying, go look at what is available now in the reserves, and is it prudent to use some of that? And if that doesn't turn out to be the prudent thing to do, then we do it in next year's budget.
Mm-hmm.
Is anybody going to be meeting in this room
No.
after us?
No.
We can continue.
no, but the rest of it I can move quicker on. This was something I wanted to really,
And very important, this is
Yeah.
the next most
Yeah.
important thing.
Yeah.
I think that all of us agree on, from everything we've gotten done up to this point, is we have to turn to 2220 and figure out what we're going to do with it. All right? It's huge. If we have the opportunity to enhance safety, improve our relationship with the community, and so we're going to go see what of our reserve funds could possibly be used without jeopardizing anything, and if that doesn't work, then we'll pursue a budget item for next year's budget.
sound good?
Yes.
Okay.
Just interesting data really is operations by type. So single piston, no surprise, wins by a long shot. And here's some of our other users. And not exact figures, but roughly those are the categories. Dan Tobin, like to welcome a new staff member, Airport Operations. Dan comes to us from a lot of experience of working building maintenance, and so he's very handy. He's catching on really quickly, doing a great job out there, and proud to have him on board. Just to update quickly on land disposal requests, there are some land disposal requests that the city is requesting a permanent disposal on. That's under FAA review. You're familiar with a couple of the areas that the city leases from the airport: sports complex, the police department, fire department, public works. And so this is part of our Exhibit A, this document that you're looking at right here. This is what's known as an Exhibit A airport property map. This was done, is almost finished up, will be about to be submitted to the FAA. This is basically it's about a 7-sheet document, and it's taking the entire history of the airport. This is like the final sheet. And I'll share that with you at the next board meeting, the full thing, because it's very interesting. What it does is it takes a proper boundary survey of the entire airport property as it was in 1947 when the land was deeded to the city. And then it takes every single time a piece of land changed hands, it's got all that information. So we have a property inventory of our, and I'll be happy to share this with the board once we have it. But it helps us we didn't have a property inventory. So the previous master plan didn't have this. It's supposed to. It didn't. So we had to go back. Again, the FAA helped to pay for this. So that's good. But as you know, land is the reason why land is so valuable for an airport is because it's one of the only ways you can make money. And unless you're going to start charging people landing fees, which nobody likes that, right? So it's one of the ways the airport makes money, and that ensures that you can continue to do projects like Runway 220. And without it, where are you going to get the money? So it's important that we understand where the money is coming from and protecting our land. So just briefly touch on this. You may be aware of it. This is really just for public awareness that And I know there's some jokes around this, chemtrails, haha. So you may be familiar that there are some aircraft that are equipped with flares and things that's called cloud seeding. It's now illegal in Florida, and public use airports are now required by law to report any aircraft equipped with weather modification equipment. We have to do this monthly, and they put a heavy penalty on it, saying if you don't, you'll pull your funding, we'll pull your funding. A lot of airports are kind of pushing back like, whoa, how are we supposed to do that? So this is kind of evolving, but basically every month we log into the FDOT website and have to say no or yes or whatever, that we don't see aircraft like this, or we don't have tenants that are doing this. Economic development plans, familiar with Community Redevelopment Act. The airport has been given some money from the CRA because the airport is in the CRA, and we're currently have a study underway, a design underway to do some site work and pre-development work to bring infrastructure and utilities to the area just south of Epic to develop some larger corporate hangars. And this is, again, CRA money, so it's not airport money, so we're very appreciative of that, working with the CRA on that. Project updates, talk a little bit about that. You know, our fuel farm, tentative fuel start date of February 1st after a lot of delays. Our tank is out there. Jacob's been working really hard on working on some of the corrosion that we have, but that will be addressed when they come out. Full rehab of all the paint. T-Hangar E, for those of you in T-Hangar E, or just so you know, we're going to do a similar rehabilitation on T-Hangar E as we did on F. That design is almost complete, so we'll be looking hopefully to go out to bid in the next few months. Taxiway Bravo, there's a picture of it there, substantially complete. There's just a few touch-up items that they're doing here and there. And knock on wood, hopefully we're done this week, weather permitting. Admin building is currently out for bid, and the bids are due November 5th. There's a shot of the Taxiway Bravo project about a month or so ago as they were finishing up the the east end, doing some of the work there. Like I said, Taxiway Bravo is just some of the punch list items. They had just some paint here and there that needed to be done. We've got the Pappy Airfield Generator replacement project is upcoming. That is already funded, FAA funded, so we're replacing, let's see, it's 1129 and 25 or 7, let's see.
3 of the 4.
3, yeah. 3 out of the 4, and then we're running gas, natural gas line to the airfield generator that we're getting, the new airfield generator, so we'll be able to be, have continuous source of we don't have to worry about bringing diesel up. Ramp expansion, just under design, that's going to sit on a shelf. That design is pretty much wrapped up. Septic to sewer, running actual sewer line over to the tower areas, and that's for future infrastructure as well. So if we build new hangars in that area, we'll have a sewer line, which doesn't exist right now. A lot of modernization stuff that you would think already existed, but it didn't. Airport perimeter fence, again, another upgrade. We don't have perimeter fence around the sports complex. You can see there in the blue and the red. There's no fence there, okay? There's natural habitat and vegetation that provides kind of a natural barrier, but there's no perimeter fencing. So we're adding wildlife skirting. This will actually be true wildlife fence. So it'll hopefully help, from deal with the coyotes and other types of wildlife that we get on the airport. 23,000 linear feet. Airport beautification, again, CRA grant coming to us to improve the entrance. There's potential talk about discussion of doing traffic enhancement to actually potentially address some of the safety concerns we have along US 1 in front of the airport. Again, that would be CRA money just to improve not only the looks, but also safety. As you're probably aware, as you pull in and out of the airport, there can be, and there are a fair amount of accidents in that area. Wildlife kind of ties in with safety, but there's a kind of snapshot of the bird strikes that we've had over the last 24 and 25. You see the majority of them are small birds. One black vulture that I know did cause damage for Epic. We had a gopher tortoise last year, about a year ago. We have USDA has a wildlife branch. For those of you who may not be aware, USDA has a whole wildlife mitigation team that works with airports, and they're actually out here this week and helping us address our coyote population. And they were out last week, and they're out this week. And then you've probably seen it. This was the slide from last meeting, but we didn't get to it. But you've probably seen our new airport, our wildlife that we have swimming out in front of the airport, the fiberglass shark that you could see, others around the area. I do have one final note to kind of end on, a little bit of a sad note. Jacob Kosat has let us know that he gave his resignation, and he'll be leaving us in a couple weeks. And I want to say that obviously it's this is obvious, but I've gotten to work with Jacob for, three and a half years now. He is a true aviation professional through and through, and he has worked incredibly hard. And there is no doubt that his fingerprints are on almost every corner of that airport. He has been outstanding, and we would not be where we are this far along without Jacob. He has just done so many things. We'd be here, till all night talking about all the things that he's done, and I'm going to miss him. I'm extremely proud of him, of all he's accomplished, but I'm just proud of him in general. I couldn't have asked for a better assistant, and really just outstanding guy that he's going to go on to do anything and everything. So we're going to miss you. Thank you so much for all your hard work. And
Boy, that's for sure. Let me tell you.
That just blew me away. So what's your last day?
Veterans Day, November 11th.
Okay.
Yep, so.
We should have a going away party for you.
Man,
I'm serious.
I'll start one of my summarizing comments. I'll start the end of this. I was, I'm in shock, but I was just going to say the work, the timing of that is crazy.
Wow.
The work that you guys have done, man, and what you guys have accomplished over the last couple of years at this airport is literally unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I think it's unbelievable. It really is. It's unbelievable what y'all have accomplished in the amount of time and the efficiency that you've done it. And our community should be ecstatic at the job you guys have done, because I know that we are. So Jacob, what a huge loss I know that is to Arvin, man, because you're a great guy, man, and you're a hard worker. So thank you for your service to the city and to this community.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Are you going to be around here, or are you going somewhere else?
I'll be local for the immediate future, yeah.
Oh, okay. So in other words, we might see you walk in the streets.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool.
I guess we're at comments. Is that where we are?
That's what I was saying. I'll start with the comments.
Yeah, that's item 10 after airport manager update is AAB member comments.
Well, just to reiterate on what's been said, Jacob, fantastic job. Congratulations. I'll be interested in following you in your future endeavors, and I hope you stay in touch.
I'll see you in there. Thank you.
Well, holy mackerel. I was trying to think of a quick list of stuff that I could, everything you've done, website, everything, you've done with the airport operations themselves. It's just, you're a very hard worker. And this was recognized by you being recognized as Volusia County Employee of the Year, okay, this past year. So this is a big freaking deal.
Thank you.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, and I have been proud to know you personally and appreciate you so much. I think that I knew deep down inside this was coming, okay, because you have a tremendous talent and you are going to go great places. And I think that the AAB should sponsor some kind of little cake and coffee or something for you at the airport, and let us, spend a few minutes and recognize you. Whatever else the city does or anybody else does,
Appreciate
this
that.
group right here, we want to just have a little bit of time one day to put something together to show you how much we appreciate you.
I'm totally
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I, it takes an army to do this, and we've had a lot of good people at this airport, make all this work. I mean, you know, Arvin and I have made a good team, and, you know, we had Tammy and the operations staff, now we have Teresa, and we're very fortunate with the people we have had to work collectively at the airport to make it all work, and working with Scott and making with Jim has made it, I think, incredibly easy to make all these things happen. So, you know, overall, I'm very thankful for all those comments, and you're absolutely right. The team collectively has done a lot of good things, and, you know, that was being around this airport for many years was when this job opened up was, you know, maybe there's something I can do to help contribute to the airport, and so that's kind of been my mission, and to assist Arvin in whatever his goals were to make those come true, and to help all the tenants, whether it be commercial, T-hanger, just general users, you know, whatever. That's kind of been my thing, and I don't know if I could even do this necessarily the same job at a different airport, because I wouldn't care as much about that airport as I have this one, because I've spent so much time here, had my own business here, all the other things. So this one's been, you know, a special place for me, and it always will be, and so that's what makes it bittersweet in terms of, yes, you know, career advancement's a thing, but certainly this airport will always live with me, and something I'll still continue to fly in and out of and check in on and bother the team in the future. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. So thank you.
Well, if you remain in the New Smyrna area, there's always an opportunity right here on this board at some time in the future, because you would be a tremendous asset
Thank you.
to what this board does. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments about anything else from the board? Tim or Jim, any other board comments? Okay, Celeste?
You know how to end it, honey.
I know.
Whoa.
So the next-
I was not expecting that at all. I mean,
I
just blew
was.
me away.
I just
I'm not
recognized the
kidding.
talent that we've got here, and I knew sooner or later that somebody was going to scarf him up. Our next meeting date, agenda item 11, we've already done that. We know when they're going to be, and we're going to be at 5:30.
Yeah.
And the last item is adjournment, and this meeting of October 27th is adjourned.